That's my brother from another mother, and you're messing with my cousin. Well, joke's on him, because I have now been name-checked in this lawsuit. We just read through this. We showed the public that's what you're doing. I am under your skin. I'm so excited. I'm under their skin. Blake and Ryan are watching. But there's a little bit of dirt thrown on me here because I'm the only other person that gets mentioned. And I want to be clear. We just read through this. We showed the public that's what you're doing. So I don't understand why I got name-checked here. And then just to say, predictably, the media outlets picked up the same narrative. They're like, they got me out here looking like Regina George when she cuts her shirt. And I'm not sure what argument they're making, because I'm not sure what argument they're ever making, because their entire lawsuit is just filled with contradictions. But they use my tweet and they say,
imagine waking up and finding out you've been dragged into a multi-million-dollar Hollywood lawsuit, and you weren't even involved to begin with. That's exactly what happened to Candace Owens. She innocently called out the sheer ridiculousness of Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds' legal drama, and bam, her name was slapped all over court documents. Blake Lively, Hollywood royalty, accused Candace of exposing the very truth she was desperate to bury. But Candace, never one to back down, didn't freak out. Instead, she laughed. She called it an early Christmas gift, joking she could practically retire now. Because when Hollywood's elite go out of their way to name-check you in their legal battles, you know you've hit a nerve. But why were Hollywood's golden couple so desperate to silence a conservative commentator? The answer reveals a PR disaster in the making.
well, joke's on him, because I have now been name-checked in this lawsuit. Yeah, but that's what you did. Like, what am I guilty of here?
Blake Lively, seemingly playing the victim, tried to paint Justin Baldoni as the villain in this whole mess, but her PR stunt spectacularly backfired. She rushed to court demanding a protective order, claiming it was standard procedure in high-profile cases. Fair enough, right? But then came the twist. Blake's team didn't just want a regular protective order. Oh no, they wanted a super-secret, attorney's eyes-only version. This meant even Justin Baldoni, the defendant in a $400 million lawsuit, wouldn't be allowed to see key evidence being used against him. And the excuse? To protect third parties like Taylor Swift. Yes, you heard that right. They invoked Taylor Swift's name, claiming her private messages needed shielding. The internet wasn't buying it. Baldoni's lawyers weren't buying it. This wasn't about justice, it was about control. Blake's carefully crafted victim narrative was starting to crumble, and her desperate attempt at secrecy only made things worse. Blake claimed it was about privacy, but her past actions screamed hypocrisy. And Candace Owens was ready to point it out.
Like, no, I'm just telling the truth, and I don't understand what your problem is with me other than the fact that I am under your skin. I'm so excited. I'm under their skin. And Judge Lehman of New York instructed both of the parties of the suit to submit a proposed protective order. I think the deadline he gave them was March 10th for a proposed protective order.
Because here's the kicker. The same Blake Lively, who was now crying for privacy, had already leaked confidential text messages to the New York Times to smear Justin Baldoni. The hypocrisy was, as Candace put it, next level. Suddenly, now she cares about protecting private messages. Candace immediately called out this blatant double standard, dismantling Blake's fragile victim act piece by piece. Blake's legal team even tried to bizarrely link Candace to Perez Hilton, suggesting some kind of coordinated media attack. Candace's response? Pure, unadulterated laughter. The idea that she was part of some secret plot was utterly pathetic, and she wasn't shy about saying so. Blake Lively thought she could manipulate the media and control public perception, but she was rapidly exposing herself as a fraud. While Blake was trying to control the narrative legally, Ryan Reynolds took a different, equally damaging approach.
Blake's team filed for a slightly modified type of protection order that would include increased protections to third parties. Now, we covered this filing. I told you that essentially what was buried in it was what I would describe as the Taylor Swift clause. They're saying we only want this to be shared between the attorneys, not even with the parties to the suit. So that means, Brian Friedman can see it, their lawyers can see it, but we're talking like not even Melissa Nathan or Justin Baldoni could see it, because it might be very damaging to third parties.
Enter Ryan Reynolds, the supportive husband, or so it seemed. While Blake's lawyers were in court demanding secrecy and painting a picture of trauma, Ryan decided to turn the whole lawsuit into a punchline on Saturday Night Live. Yes, on SNL's 50th anniversary special, he mocked the very situation his wife claimed was so serious and damaging. The internet exploded. fake. Hypocrite. The backlash was instant and brutal. Fans were furious, pointing out the sheer audacity of claiming your wife is traumatized, while simultaneously making light of it for laughs. Suddenly, fake Lively and crying Ryan were trending, and for good reason. Ryan's tone-deaf joke completely undermined Blake's legal strategy and cemented the public perception of them as out-of-touch Hollywood elites. With their carefully constructed image cracking, Blake and Ryan doubled down on their legal tactics. But Candace Owens was just getting started.
If Brian Friedman subpoenas Taylor Swift's text messages, wink, wink, that's what I want to see, and it reveals that actually Taylor Swift was LOLing with Blake Lively about being a dragon. She's like, yeah, I'm a dragon. Distinguish between the two, what a standard court protective order is and what Blake Lively's team is asking for, which is an attorney's eyes only designation.
Because Candace Owens doesn't back down, ever. She took to her podcast and unleashed a full-blown roast of Blake and Ryan's absurd lawsuit. She dissected their hypocrisy, their contradictions, and their desperate attempts to control the narrative. And she wasn't just criticizing, she was demanding answers. "I want the Taylor Swift text messages," she declared, with a mix of humor and steel. She made it clear she wasn't going anywhere, comparing herself to a pit bull locked onto their hypocrisy. The most telling part? Blake's legal team was so rattled by Candace's commentary that they actually quoted her tweet in their official court filings. Think about that for a second. Hollywood millionaires, with their armies of PR people and lawyers, were obsessing over a Candace Owens tweet. It showed just how deeply she'd struck a nerve, and how desperately they wanted to silence her. As March 10th approached, the pressure mounted. Would the judge side with Hollywood secrecy, or would the truth finally see the light of day?
What am I guilty of here? Leading the pack of people, because we're psychotic and we're checking your filings every day, and we said, oh look, yeah, she's filing for more protection to protect, she thinks it's confidential documents. We just read through this, we showed the public, that's what you're doing. I want the Taylor Swift text messages. I deserve the Taylor Swift text messages. Okay, I've worked incredibly hard for the Taylor Swift text messages. Years, okay? Okay, not years, but everyone can see that I have made a real effort, and now that you have name checked me and I'm under your skin, I'm going to be there for a very long time. I'm not gonna let go. I'm like a pit bull, okay? I'm on to you. Blake and Ryan are watching. You know what's gonna happen? I wanna be very clear, guys. You know where we're headed? I can see us barreling toward this future. I am going to be put, not just in the Deadpool movies, but all over that next Taylor Swift album. You guys are gonna be Easter egg hunting. She's gonna have songs about me.
March 10th became the day of reckoning. Would the judge grant Blake's extreme protective order, keeping everything buried in Hollywood secrecy? Or would the truth, the very thing Blake seemed terrified of, finally be exposed? If she was telling the truth, wouldn't she want everything out in the open? The growing media skepticism hinted at a shift. Even mainstream outlets started asking the tough questions. Why the secrecy if she wants transparency? Why the jokes from Ryan if she's traumatized? Legal experts weighed in, and the consensus was clear. Blake's case was weak, riddled with contradictions, and falling apart. And as the narrative crumbled, Blake and Ryan's only remaining move was to desperately try and bury the evidence and hope no one noticed. But Candace Owens, now officially part of this Hollywood drama, wasn't about to let that happen. She's promised to keep digging, keep exposing, and keep holding them accountable. This Hollywood meltdown is just getting started, and Candace Owens is leading the charge for truth. That's it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any new uploads. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one.
Witnesses are staying anonymous. They're terrified of threats and bullying. It's a very neutral and interesting piece. Even if Justin was too huggy or whatever the heck, or said she was sexy, none of this warrants this. And you still have to atone for what you did.
If the judge actually grants that kind of a protection order, the attorneys would become the judge of what exactly could be designated AEO. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense.